You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? It is Saturday, show number 2, show number 499. What is number 500 going to be? I don't know. Who is going to be on number 500? I don't know. Although, yeah, anyone would have been a cool 500. Who knows what it's going to be? I don't know. Maybe I'm going to call someone up. If not, I have one scheduled for Monday. So it might be Monday, might be 500. There might be one later today, might be one tomorrow. I wake up at 2 in the morning and be like, I'm going to do a 3-minute one by myself and call that number 500 because this is on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. This is my show. This is the Public Access Podcast, the podcast, now the Pennsylvania Public Access Podcast, not called the Pennsylvania Public Access Podcast, but the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you for showing up, watching me, listening to me, whatever it is. You guys are doing it, and I appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm going to bring on my special guest. I had her on last year. It's been about a year. And I had a small group of people that I really appreciated that I have on my show when I was running shows in Westland, Oregon, doing comedy shows. It was Dan Wianco, um, geez, Rochelle Cochran, Pedro Andrade, and my special guest today, Amanda Martin-Tully, right there. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Not too shabby. What happened to the cat? I thought I
Uh,
was looking at mine and I was confused. I was wondering how my cat got into your screen, but
he's coming back. Bradbury, come on. He was bored because it was just me, but now that he hears your voice, he's like, "Oh, friends, I'll come back."
oh,
So
okay. Is that a common occurrence?
it
When more
is. I'm sitting at my office desk, and I work
okay.
from home, and so anytime I'm on a Zoom call, he hops in because he's like, "Oh my gosh, who am I going to get to meet?" He's just really, really social and loves people, and I think if he could live in like a bar, maybe like a sports bar, it would be his favorite thing in the world.
A bar cat would be
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be pretty neat. I was talking to a guy yesterday who right now he's in Albania and he goes along in a motorhome. And he says he goes and stops at all these places that all on all these uh like motorhome parks or whatever you
Mhm.
would call them. They all have stray cats. And he doesn't own a cat, but he has these cats that he just sort of picks up and goes and hangs out in his motorhome whenever he's going through, and then whenever
Oh,
he leaves the cats there and finds new cats. So
yeah.
maybe that was your cat in a past life or
Maybe.
something.
When my boyfriend and I went to the Yucatan last year, we
Oh,
found the only Irish pub there, and it's called Patty's.
of course.
Of course. And there was a bar cat.
Oh,
Yep.
uh,
And so the kitty lived at the bar and had like food and water bowls throughout, and it was just like would just walk on in, talk to people, hang out, like just that's that's where the kitty lived. And then we stayed in a hostel, and there was a kitty that lived there too. So like also kind of a nice setup. So the kitty at the hostel would like come to the doors of like each of the rooms,
yeah.
and you have like a screen door, and so we leave the screen door open, and then it would just be like, hey, and we'd just like come on in and like hang out, and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go see the next people.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah.
Why can't we adopt this? I guess because we've adopted too many other we end up taking them in. We can't just let them go. But I don't know. I think it would be hard if I had a cat like that that was so friendly and liked everyone so much to be able to let it go. I think that could be kind of hard. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree. I have been looking for some more volunteer opportunities, and the animal shelters and the Humane Society are always in need of volunteers. And that one is really hard for me because I'm like, I can't bring home more animals. And my parents said I can't bring them more animals. So
they're gonna
it,
start, yeah, opening up the phone book and I guess now it's like this.
yeah,
It's
but
not
well, I did get like an old fashioned address book because
okay.
we have a landline at our house.
That's right. You have a
Yeah.
landline. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it what kind of phone was it? Was it Lips? Am
Okay.
I imagining that from
So
last year?
no, no, no. We went through a bunch of different phones trying to find the perfect phone, because something that's interesting that I did not realize is that the ringer is specific to the phone. And you can't like, there's a slight
Uh,
variance that you can do, but like, I think until not even smartphones, but flip phones came out. Remember when you could like record your own ringtone?
right.
Like, but growing up, we just had a phone and it just rang like a phone. Like all phones kind of rang the same in my memory, right?
Yeah, until they had those they were the portable phones.
Mhm.
I forgot. I think they were VTech brand or something. They were probably about like this big, and I think they had like four different ringers that you could have for the phone.
Yeah. So
Probably
there's,
it came out like 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
yeah. So it's still like the technology did not advance with the landline. And it's not something I ever thought about. Right.
Right.
And so then in deciding, okay, we're going to have a landline and picking out a phone, even if the phone looked great, the ringer was terrible.
Oh,
And so the lip phone was a screeching noise. It was a screeching ring that was like, it hurt our ears, it hurt the cat's ears. So we had to return the lips.
oh no.
Yeah. And so we ended up having the other thing was getting a phone with a answering machine jack. That was the second bit. So we're like, okay, we had got to like the ringtone, and we've got to have one with a jack for the answering machine. And originally I'd wanted an answering machine with the tiny tapes, because
Right.
my thought was, when like my roommate and I were actively dating, that instead of giving out our like phone number, we'd give out the house line, and then someone would have to call, and then they'd have to leave a message, and then we could save all of these tapes and listen to them. I don't know why we thought that was fun. It's weird, but it seemed
Eh,
like, I don't know, it seemed really fun. And then you basically cannot find a working tape recording answering machine. They're too old.
with the mini cassettes.
Yeah, yeah. You can buy the mini cassettes, but finding an answering machine, and I was about to pay like $90. Like it was
Wow.
I've had some cocktails. Absolutely, we need this. And then I was about to buy it, and they're like, oh, we can't guarantee it works. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? Just have a fake answering machine sitting in my house? Like that seems concerning.
Yeah. And so, because they probably don't have either the small tapes, the mini tapes themselves, or maybe they don't have the, I guess they'd have to have a power outlet, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't have the power outlet selling with it. So I got crap that I sell. Like I even I I got this right here if anyone's
Yes.
interested. So it was a phone kind of like this that had the 4 tones to it,
Yeah,
for the
it's once
ringers,
they
but it was a
started
little
sitting
newer.
in a cradle, that's when I feel like the
Yeah.
customization, and we say customization, and I think what my brain then versus what your brain now it's like customization means you can have 87 Taco Bell toppings, and then it was like you had 4 ringtones.
Yeah.
Like, and you could
Real
set it for like, oh, we know dad's calling, that's his ringtone. So we would set it for like family members.
okay. Yeah, I remember that. But then that can get odd too, because then you always uh, like know who's calling. You got people around you. It's like, oh, hey, it's oh, it's like, oh, you're not picking up your dad's phone call again. Like, dad's calling. No, don't worry about it. Like, but I guess it was kind of the same with caller ID.
Yeah. Well, I last year I still like to set my ringtones. I stopped doing ringbacks because I was told that that is unprofessional if you have someone from work calling you. I had like
Uh,
Mickey Avalon or something, and I was like, fine, I won't be fun. So
oh,
I started getting like paying 79 cents to get a ringtone. Well, I thought I made it Britney Spears toxic. And I was like, oh, this is fun and catchy. But people automatically assumed that I'd set my exes if ever they called. And I was like, well, now,
oh,
but mean, but really funny. And I wish I'd thought of that. But no, it's just my ringtone for everyone. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, so
but
then yeah. What do you do with that?
yeah, I was just like, well, when you call, it's also toxic. So
Little
everyone
do
has
you know, maybe
it.
you are. Maybe
Yeah.
you are toxic too.
But I just love that sense of nostalgia, and that's part of why we have the landline. I actually was looking, is kind of going through looking at like, oh, do we really use it that much? Because like we're not giving it out to strangers, and though it is like coming up on election season and cycles,
Oh,
which is great because we get election surveys, which
sure.
I love doing. I will like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
I love it. So got them last year, and it's like the phone would ring and I would answer and they'd be like, oh, do you have time to take a survey? And I was like, one moment, let me just get a glass of water, wine. And then I would sit down and sometimes be like half an hour. You're just chatting, taking a survey. It's like a real life BuzzFeed quiz. It was awesome. So we were evaluating whether or not to like keep the landline, but I looked at our bill and we're not getting charged for it because they changed our
Oh,
phone number when we moved. Because our phone number used to be a plaid pantry number,
oh.
which
So
was
you
amazing because
get
it
calls for
showed,
Flat Pantry?
well, weirdly no, but when we called people, it showed up on like their caller ID as plaid pantry was calling them,
Cool.
which I'm really sad to have lost that. But now having like a landline number, like for an actual residence, we don't pay for the bill anymore. So I was like, we're not getting charged for it. I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah. So does it go like through the internet then, or is it a Google
Yeah.
Voice number?
No, it goes through like the internet provider.
Okay.
It was only like, $7 a month anyway. But I was like,
Yeah.
but it has been ringing a lot during the day. Unfortunately, like the phone is downstairs. And so by the time I get from my room downstairs, most of the time they've hung up. But like I will just run for the phone as if I'm expecting like a life-changing call. It never is. It never
It
is.
could be.
It could be. It's just like a lot of times it's people asking if we're looking to sell our house. And I'm like, we don't own this house, but thanks. Like, I don't think we could
Yeah.
sell it on behalf of our landlord.
Right.
Uh,
That's become a thing. I saw there was a thing, especially like, a few years ago, it became a thing like these things on TikTok would blow up, these people that got into, buying the houses and but not like buying the houses, just buying the, I guess buying I don't know if it's the deed to the house to flip it or the contract to the house to sell it to flip it immediately. So like without them ever really taking ownership, so they don't have to pay taxes on it. There's some sort of loophole where you can get around this, where you
Really?
can just, yeah, buy it from someone and sell it to someone right after. Like they do it a lot with the um like the houses that are falling apart and stuff.
Okay.
Like I'll offer you $100,000 cash, and then like give them a contract to that. And then so they sort of own it. And then they can sell that contract to somebody else for like $200,000 and pocket
Oh,
$100,000.
okay.
So
This
I
sounds,
don't understand it.
yeah, the way you've described it, I'm like, oh, is this something like The Big Short? Like
Kind of.
something like that. And,
Yeah.
I know I'm not an unintelligent person, but there's some of that I'm like, it's so convoluted. Like it just seems like it should all be absolutely illegal.
Right. It should be.
Yeah,
It
like
totally should be, especially when it's where someone lives.
yeah, it's so frustrating and stuff like that. I liked the movie The Big Short because I feel like it actually explained it in a way that I was like, oh, thank you for taking this really complex thing and making it like humorous, and obviously like Margot Robbie explaining it while in like drinking champagne in a beautiful bathtub. I was like, I want that bathtub. I would love that in my life. And just I liked it. I thought it was a great presentation, and maybe I'll go and rewatch that and be like, oh, that's exactly what we were talking about. Like,
Yeah, at least get the bathtub
yeah,
out
I
of that.
know. That was one of the few things I miss about our old place was we had a huge, it was like an extra large clawfoot tub
Oh,
from like 1908.
cool.
I mean, it was the tub of tubs. And like my friend, he's like 6'3", and anytime that he would be visiting in town, he's like, can I please take a bath? Because it's one of the only bathtubs that a tall person could fit in.
It's awkward a lot of times in a bathtub for if you're over 6 feet tall. It's not,
Yeah.
it's either your legs are crunched up at the end or else and then but then you're also like this far out of the water, or else just your I guess bottom half's in, and then you're just sort of sitting straight up, and
Yeah.
the whole top part of your body is getting cold.
I had no idea how troublesome it was because I'm 5'2". And so like even small bathtubs, I'm like, this is great. But that bathtub, I actually like couldn't really lay down. I would drown in the tub because I would use my toe to like prop myself up. It was that long. It was
Ooh,
so big. And thankfully, utilities were included because I can only imagine what the water bill
sure.
would have been for that. It was not environmentally friendly. Um, but
But
it was the bathtub of bathtubs. And I will always like, sure, we couldn't control our own heat, and our landlord told us to use our gas stove for heat and just crack the door. So it was very unsafe. But the
yeah,
bathtub, beautiful.
the bathtub, I had this thought just a day or two. I was like, I just want to go somewhere like I like went on to Google. I said, how can I go around and be able to check out different bathtubs or hot tubs or hot springs and make that paid for? And I'm like, I don't know. Like
Like a
that's my thing. That's where I want to be. Um, I miss the high desert. It was so great in Utah and Idaho, all those hot springs out there.
uh,
I like those hot springs. But all you have to do if you're ever looking for a hot spring, you find out where the Russians are, and that's where they all go.
is that true? That'd be a weird thing to not be true, but
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Anytime you go to any hot spring, there's always Russians there. Um, they all there's some sort of thing that they're on the ends with it, and they're
okay.
just like I always just hear Russian, and like, okay, yep, that's what
Okay.
you're doing here. Like, this is a good place to be. So,
So this is
uh,
even better to know since I'm trying, like my goal is to learn Russian, and I'm
Right.
working on that, and then working with my students. And so I signed up for winter term to continue being a teacher's assistant. And don't
Okay.
fight with each other, please. Stop it. Um, and I didn't realize that the teacher that I'm helping, he speaks Russian. And we went this entire
Oh,
term and I didn't know. And he's like, "Oh, well, if you want to like continue on, then I'm happy to do like, sit down and we can do conversations and like study group." I was like, that's not why I was doing it, but what an added cool bonus. Um,
yeah.
so gonna
Whoa.
start doing that. So now I have even more motivation so I can find out where all the good hot springs are.
Right. Besides Bagby, and Bagby isn't that bad. It's hit or miss. Depends when you go.
I've only been to
Um,
hot springs once in my life. And
okay.
they were out near Bend, kind of like they were out near Bend, and there was some kind of lake, and I went with a guy I was dating and his friends that lived out there. But it was like really just kind of a like near the water, and then there was like a big kind of puddle, like a human-sized puddle,
Yeah.
and it was just like kind of dirt, and then everyone sat in the hot dirt water.
Yeah, there are some like that. I did one of those up in Wyoming, and
Okay.
kind of weird. But then there's some where it's like a big pool, like they make
That's
it
what I
in.
was imagining. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go, I don't want to give out too many secrets here, but
Do it offline.
yeah, yeah.
We can speak in
End up,
Russian and then
yeah, if you end up down out in, I guess, the Rockies at
okay.
some point, there's some. Let's see, what would it be of a drive for you? It'd probably be like 7 or 8 hours. It might be
Okay.
a little bit of a haul,
Gotcha.
but yeah, the yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it might be like six. I think I can find you one in six with some pools if you're okay driving 6 hours. But I bet there's some that are closer in the Cascades. There's websites and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe some sort of a Russian meetup. You can just go out, hang out there, and it's like you're in the tub all day. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I had one that had like it was like a yeah, big pool, and it had some like water slides and stuff. And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
like what I'm envisioning. And so I felt kind of bad that like I was so disappointed by like the mud puddle hot spring, because I was like, it's fine. But I just had envisioned like what I saw in the movies, and I was like, oh, well, maybe it's like maybe I had the wrong idea and I just had this Hollywood version. But no one else, when people describe hot springs, I'm like, oh, I think I just got the worst one.
yeah, yeah. Like I mean, even Bagby's like I don't know, not even an hour, I bet, from you.
That's like
But
up to the dam, right?
it's up sort of out like I don't know,
Like
kind
up
of
the
like out
gorge.
past Estacada. No, like Estacada and
Oh, okay.
out towards Mount Hood, sort of like on that backside of Mount Hood.
Okay.
But that place is pretty nice. You gotta hike in a ways. It's like if you go before, like if you go in the when there's snow out there, it can be troublesome.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you go now, you would probably be okay. But you have to go like on a Tuesday or Wednesday or something. You go on a weekend, there's gonna be, you know,
Tons of
a bunch,
people.
tons of people, and there's like a few little inside bathtubs that you can use and fill up.
Mm,
It might have changed a little bit, but that's what I remember from it. And um, yeah, but I mean, I think with most of those, you kind of have to go on a weekday, or if you find the ones where you can go there early in the morning, that's kind of nice too, having the early morning. But yeah, that's something I mean, like right now, it's pretty far away to go to one. And even the ones that I've found that are, within 6 hour drives, which is a long way for to go just to a hot spring. But yeah, they're not. they're more like the mud hole
Yeah.
kind of a thing, and not some nice thing. But you know, as long as it's hot water, but it was nice having something with, you know, some sort of enclosure where you feel like you're not just in a hole with a bunch of people.
Well, for me, like, and growing up in the Pacific Northwest, like having lived here my whole life, I it's weird that I have this like fear. Like in general, I feel safe in nature. I like it. But it was a fear I developed growing up because my dad, I think maybe when I was like 6 or 7, got like just a big wooden canoe. And so we'd
Oh,
go out, and it was amazing because you can have that ability to, see parts of nature that no one else can get. Like you can't get with a motorized boat. You can only get there with a canoe.
yeah,
What terrifies me are the stumps that have been cut off and then water covers them. And so when you like row over those, there is something where it like makes all of the hair on the back of my neck, like it's terrifying to me. And so I'm just like, I think the hot springs, I'm like, oh, are they going to be near that? And so I think it's anytime there's murky water that isn't
okay,
really see-through, it just freaks. I'm terrified of the ocean. Like I'll go in the clear ocean, but I don't think I've ever actually gone swimming in the Pacific Ocean. My whole life, because if I can't see through it, I'm terrified. I am so scared of giant squid, which, are not going to be close enough to me on land, but are a legitimate fear.
sure,
And so if I can't see through it, I'm just apprehensive. So like the only swimming in the ocean I've ever done has been like in Florida. Because you
yeah,
can walk out for like a half mile and I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't care. This is fantastic. And I realize there's dangers, but I can see the danger. But here I'm like, I don't know. Could be a giant squid tentacle coming for me. Like, or who knows? I know there's not a giant squid living in a lake, but you don't know. I don't know. It could be under all the mud.
right. And I don't want to get in that water. I don't want to get in the water at the coast. I don't want to
Hmm.
go out to you know, seaside, or you know, some other, like, anywhere on the coast. The only place, the closest I will get, is I will go up on in the Long Beach Peninsula. I'll go up
Okay.
sort of in that, but even there, like, I don't want to go out. I don't know. It's still, and it's only like from August until, like, there's like maybe a 4 to 6 week window I'll go in. Like once the water, I'm not one of those people who's in there going and floating from Barton to Carver in
No,
May, the first day that it's hot, and or
no,
doing one of those things. And yeah, I need my water hot, and I
yeah.
just, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't know what's in the water. Like, I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things, and it's not my home.
That exactly. That's exactly what I'm like. I'm in your. It's the same thing. Like if I see a spider outside, I'm like, hey, I'm in your space.
Yep.
I do struggle. Like if I can, I'll put a spider outside. But if a spider's in my home, I'm like, hey, I also know that you will chomp on me and you don't care. Like, and I'm kind of allergic to spider bites. Like anytime I get them, I end up on antibiotics. Like I get really, really sick from them.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of like, well, it's you or me. And if I can get them to get outside, yes. But I'm just like, if I was in your web, you wouldn't even think twice. And
Right.
I have to have this whole rationale every single time. Because it's like you're in my home. But if I'm in your home, it's my fault.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then they'll tell their friends, if they somehow tell on their friends to stay out of the house. This
yeah,
is my spot.
well, and I have like peppermint oil is supposed to be a good deterrent, and
It's
like tea tree
great
oil and stuff. So
for
I use peppermint oil just in general for like muscle pain because it's a really great numbing agent. And so
Yep.
I'm like, you would think with the amount of peppermint that I am constantly I smell like a human candy cane. I don't
Right.
understand it. Like, so if that spider is still like, I don't care, like I hate this smell, but I hate you more.
Yeah.
I really feel bad. I get it. we're just not meant to get along, and I'm sorry, you have to die. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're trying to kill me, and I don't need a $200, urgent care bill because I didn't want to smash you.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, that phrase right there should just work for people in life. Like, that's just a slogan for life.
Yeah. If there's a $200 urgent care bill, you're on
Don't
your
smash.
own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I mean, peppermint oil is great. Like peppermint, anything like, for, yeah, mussels or for like if mussels, like if you're, after I eat, I like to have a cup of peppermint tea because
Mm.
it's good for the stomach, for like relaxing the stomach. It's something really, really weird though, like, with the cold water, like, because cold water is kind of the worst thing you can eat or like take in when you're eating, when you're digesting food,
Oh, I
because
didn't know that.
yeah, that's why I like, yeah, as I'm drinking cold water. Um,
I'm drinking cold water right now too.
yeah, but we're not eating, so
Yeah, true.
it's okay. But yeah, with your metabolism, it kind of like stops everything and makes it really hard for everything to break down as easily.
Oh,
So like you should be drinking like warm water, or but who wants to drink warm water? And
I
eh,
I hate like just like table temperature water. Like,
right,
oh, I was somewhere kind of fancy recently, and I was sitting at the bar, and the bartender was like, "Oh, would you like sparkling or house water?" Right. And I was like, "What what's house water?" It's like, "Oh, well, it's not sparkling water." It's like, "So water? Like tap water?" Well, it's not tap
right,
water, it's house water. And he just kind of doubled down. I was like, "I don't understand." He goes, "Well, you have house liquor. So you have house water." I love it. I love it. But it's just like it broke my brain, and then me asking broke his brain. So we're both just like, what's happening? Like, we're speaking the same language. There is no disconnect, but somehow we can't fathom, because he was like, "Oh, I've never heard it called." I was like, "What?" And mind you, he was like 21, new bartender, like, but just no, it's house water.
wow, that it's. I don't even know what I would say if someone
Yeah.
told me it was house water. I'd be like, "You got a hose?"
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's, oh yeah, it's house water. It's like what you drink when you're in the summer outside and your parents are like, "No, you stay outside all day. Go drink from the hose." That's
Right.
house water.
That's
Like,
house water. That's not just, I guess it's probably out of a tap somewhere, probably maybe a kitchen,
it's probably
or
filtered. I think that's what I would imagine is it's
ooh,
like filtered through the house, which is the restaurant. Like,
right,
logically it makes sense, but it really threw me on the phrasing. And I think it's delightful, and I would really like to start using it. Like if someone comes over and it's like, "Oh, would you like some house water?"
right, yeah, I
No,
think
I
that
want to make it mainstream.
so would house water have to be filtered? Or would it just, because I mean, what would unfiltered house water be? Would it still be house water?
Undrinkable.
Undrinkable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I yeah, I've had some pretty bad water where you need to have a filter. And
Yeah. Our old apartment, and overall, Portland has wonderful drinking water. That is
yep,
something Portland is known for, and the water. That's why there's so many pizza shops. There's why there's so many ramen shops, because the water and bagel shops, because the water is amazing. But depending on where you live and how old your house is, that can impact because of the pipes. So like the old apartment, because it was just kind of falling down, the water was real funky. So it's like we
ooh,
always made sure we had a Brita,
yeah,
because that was built in 1908. Our current house, I think, was like 1920-ish, around that.
okay.
So again, still older pipes. Like, there's just a little bit of a funk, and you can't really taste it in fresh water, but you can taste it in the ice, which is
I was gonna
weird.
say the ice. The ice is where you can taste
Oh,
it. Like I'm, I don't know. We have an ice machine, or not ice machine, ice trays here.
I
Uh,
was like, tell me
yeah,
everything. What
yeah.
luxury are you living in?
Well, I had an ice machine at one place, but that was an anomaly. I think that was in Utah, and yeah, like yeah, we have ice trays right now, and
Same.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's got some, and then they're in the freezer with the freezer stuff. So then there's that too.
Yep.
I don't know, but yeah, like those. But then you have to find those weird filters and stuff for the filtered water and the ice on the like in the refrigerator for
They're
the
never
ice.
the same. I swear to you, they Brita has more inconsistency than Apple does. And I don't know why we're not talking about it. You
I
know,
don't
every
either.
we can get government regulation for like, and that is going to happen with Apple. I think it started in the UK of like, hey, you can't keep making all these different chargers. It's messed up. You got to like have some consistency. But no one's checking Brita. Like I cannot find, and I swear it's like every few years, and it's really hard to like, I've never seen a code or anything. You kind of have to like guess. And then I don't know. At one point, I probably had 6 filters that I couldn't use. And it's
Yeah,
like, is there any way to use them and just like, I don't know, put it in a glass and then slowly pour it over and just do it by hand like you're living in the apocalypse? Cause like, what do you do?
right. And can you can't really sell them to people. Like people are going to be apprehensive about. Oh, here's my. I tried to put this Brita water filter on, but it didn't quite work. I'm going to sell it to you though, and so you're just sort of stuck with this, like
You know what? Maybe we should. Maybe there could be like they've got weirder groups for things. And it's just
yeah,
like, my Brita doesn't fit. And then it's, an invite only group and like your type of Brita and you've got your picture is just your Brita filter and it's your style of Brita. And then you can just trade and you don't know anyone. It's like, yep, you just like, maybe you do a meetup and it has to be like unmarked and people are like, what is going on? And it's just an underground black market Brita filter trade. And you know what? Hopefully it would reduce waste. Clearly, that person also is making delicious ice cubes, drinking fancy house filtered water. So you share
right.
like 2 things in common.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think they should show up in some nice, like a paper bag, that you like a lunch bag.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm picturing. And it's just like, hey, yep. And because I imagine like, and if say you're all in the same city, which would be probably most convenient, and
Yeah,
you pick a local neighborhood spot and they're like, oh yeah, that's that group that's here once a month and they just all trade Brita water filters. And you're like, that's weird, but it's also like really sweet.
yeah.
Like,
And it really makes a lot of sense because
yeah,
people need to have yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine that. That would be kind of interesting to see a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of Apple products just showing up in one spot, like just to
yeah,
swap, like a big Apple Drive, Apple swap or
yeah. Like
so.
imagine if you name it like the Apple swap or something, and you've got like one person that's just does not understand it's like Apple products, and they're like, oh, I love apples. It's apple season. They just show up like a bag of apple. I would love that. I
I
think
would be friends with that person.
yeah, that would be
The-
really sweet.
It's speaking of apples, so right before I moved, I wanted to go to an apple orchard and get some apple cider.
Yeah. Oh
And
yes.
so went to this one place and it was fucking lines everywhere, parking cars in the grass. Like, nope, not gonna go here.
Yeah.
Not been worth it. Just like there's people like having you like motioning you to go into parking someplace in the grass. And
Air
it's just
traffic
like,
controller, so you can get your organic cider.
yeah. And then so it was just like got in there, like, nope, just drove off as soon as they tried to pull us in there. And then went to this other place and uh got a cup that was probably this, I don't know if you see how like probably
Okay.
like six ounces, maybe 8 ounces.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh it was $5 for a cup.
Was
It
it the
was
best cider you've ever had in your
it
entire
was
life?
the best cider I've ever had in my entire life. But I couldn't believe it. There's like this little cup for $5. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. There's no way I'm paying $5 for this. But then I'm like, I already passed up one place. I don't
Yeah,
want to try to
yeah,
find another place. It's gonna cost more to go and drive to another place. Let's just
exactly.
try
Yeah.
it. And it was it was delicious. I wish I could have gone back and got more, but you never know. I like buying drinks when like whenever there's I go to a lot of yard sales and stuff of that nature. But
Same.
whenever,
Yes.
yeah, and there's kids that are selling something, selling lemonade or whatever they're selling. I always buy it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
because, most of the time it's not that good. But I don't know. I wish I could say, I don't know why I don't. I feel it would be better for them. Maybe put a little bit more sugar in here. But
Like some constructive feedback.
yeah, I think some constructive feedback would be good because, so maybe everyone's too polite to tell them that they need to up their game. And I think it could be nice, but um yeah, I mean, I like stopping by and getting some drinks. Plus I get thirsty. I work up a thirst and an appetite doing those things.
Yeah.
But and it was weird too. They were called tag sales too
I've
in Connecticut.
I've heard that my mom, I didn't know if is that an East Coast thing, but my mom has mentioned she's like tag sales, and I haven't heard it a lot. I actually haven't heard it since I was a kid. I was like, wait a minute. Uh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
odd. It's
Yeah.
odd. I'm like, well, where's the garage sale? What's the garage sale? Like tag sale. Oh, okay.
Well, so
Okay.
the neighborhood that we live in now has kids like doing lemonade stands and stuff. So over the summer, I was like taking a Nike bike around and I'd like stop and try and support. So I made sure I started carrying like coins and some dollars and stuff. Stopped at one stand and they had like this is so Portland, a wicker basket full of like organic snacks. Like all natural, kind of like a fruit roll up, and then like a cheese puff that was gluten free, like
Ooh.
really nice snacks. And
All
then there was
right.
some like, organic lemonade, and the lemonade was pretty good, but the snacks were free with purchase of lemonade.
Ooh.
And
Uh-oh.
and this is where I think maybe don't do the feedback because I was like watching these kids like be so happy, and I was like, wow, that just seems like really bad business that you're giving away like the higher ticket item and selling the lower. And I kind of went into this, and one kid goes, yeah, I agree. And I was like, I just brought capitalism to these children. These children had a wonderful, sweet, just like, hey, we're going to sell the product we love and give away this other thing that we get for free from our family that they make us eat these shitty snacks we probably don't like. We want, get rid of these. We can buy the good snacks. And I was like, or here's what you could do. You could be better business children. And I like rode away feeling like garbage. Because I was like the last person who got something for free because they're like, what do you want? And so I took like this awful fruit roll up and I just carried it in my purse all summer thinking like, you ruined like 4 children's lives. What is wrong with you? So keep your mouth shut. Or like, beware of your constructive criticism. Cause I felt, and I still feel genuinely bad because it's like, that's when your grown up brain does something that like a kid brain doesn't do. So
Right. And I mean, I think you get that way even, yeah, well, like I mean, so like what are you looking for when you're out at the sales? Is there certain things you're looking for? If you're talking about the bins earlier, are you
yeah.
looking for certain things or
So my boyfriend did this thing now, and it sounds really silly, but it's actually really worked where we talk about what we would like to manifest at the bins. We're like,
cool?
what are things we've been looking for? Like, I really want like a big pepper grinder because my roommate had a beautiful one and it got lost in the move or when he was working. He's a chef. And so I was like, I want a pepper grinder. And then what are the odds like that day? My boyfriend finds a giant, big, like restaurant pepper grinder. And now it won't be, you can't say I want it to be like blue. You can't say I want this to be like a pair of blue boots. You're not going to find that. But if you're like, I want, maybe Christmas tree ornaments, I need some of those. they may not be exactly what you want, but you're going to find them. And so having like kind of setting that intention and not being too greedy, just being like, oh, you know, just maybe a handful of things casually. Like I needed to find my mom a birthday gift and she really likes purses, but handbags are really expensive. And she's like, don't spend that money on me. But she wanted a specific like salmon pink, kind of like orangey handbag. And I was like, how am I ever going to find that? We walk into the bins, the first bin I go to, it's a like designer bag that would run like $500 in the exact color with all of the pockets, everything in fabulous condition, just sitting there. And I was like, oh my, and so I got it and I cleaned it and sprayed and like, and that was her birthday gift. And it was, you know, not even $1, I think,
Yeah,
because
how much of a pound?
yeah. So it was just like, just finding things that we need and like, because really for the most part, I am not buying anything new. I'm really avoiding it as far as like, you know, house good or anything. A house good. What is that? A house water. It's just everything's a house thing. But like pots and pans and, you know, some of the stuff I am buying like through Etsy or online because if I can't find it at the bins, like pots and pans are really hard. So that's kind of the collection I'm building up right now.
You doing cast iron?
We've got some cast iron, but actually he was a 1960s, 70s, and then up through the 90s, a chef named Graham Kerr, the Galloping Gourmet.
Okay.
And so I'm just obsessed with him. And my great grandma she had a cooking show back in the 60s in Portland.
What?
Yeah.
What was that called?
The Grace Phipps show. So she was on Channel 2 News. And yeah,
I bet my mom knows that.
she also was the ghostwriter for Polly Pacific. And those were like little recipe like pamphlets that would go out to people. And so that was her. And she got to meet Graham Kerr. And so she really liked him. And then my grandma really liked him. Then my mom. And so it's like 4 generations. And so I collect his cookbooks, but I learned recently he had a cookware line that came out. And I found some of the pieces online and they're in amazing working condition and they're from the 70s. And they're just stunning.
Where did you find them?
Found them
What
on
part of
Etsy.
the country was it?
They're kind of from all over. So no one really has a lot. It's like someone will have one pan or one pot. And the thing is, yeah. So I'm slowly looking at different pieces, looking at like, okay, what condition are they in? Are they still fully usable? And slowly building up my pot and pan collection with these old vintage pieces. But then at the bins, I have a 1970s avocado, like 6-speed blender that we just found fully working.
And it'll work forever.
Exactly. Oh, it blends like I've never seen. Like I had a food processor, it broke. I tried to fix it. I was like, this is unfortunate. And so she's like, whatever, you can put anything in this blender.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it looks so great in the kitchen. And so it's like a mixture of like so much exists in the world. You don't really need to buy new stuff. And actually all my furniture in my room is from vintage shops or the bins. And then we've refinished it and found knobs and just like completely redone everything for, you know, maybe $200 when you're putting all supplies and everything. But it's just so much exists in the world. So I'll go out and I'm looking for like always books to read. But
what's your style when you go through the books? Because there are people in there I see who have the Amazon
scanners.
app, the scanners, the
scanners. So for the most part, we are in like children's books are really popular here. That's a big one that people are going for.
Interesting.
But I'm usually looking for like late 1800s into like early 1900s books, especially cookbooks. That's my like absolute goal are cookbooks. If they have handwriting, they've got all their like their recipe like card holders with everything. That's what I'm looking for because cookbooks tell a history about people that no one really writes about. Like we learn what an everyday person was cooking and eating and how they were shopping, and it gives you the prices. Like Sears and Roebuck catalogs from the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Astounding. I mean, they're like, it's like a phone book, and you can open it up and you can get everything from a coffin to a set of mini teaspoons. It's everything you can imagine. And one of them I opened, it was like, it sounded kind of arrogant, but I loved it. It was like, this is a glimpse at history. This is a record for future generations to see what life was like in this year, what was popular. Like, it just, no one really writes stories about the regular person. It's always like someone that was amazingly wealthy and rich and all their accomplishments, but no one's talking about like the woman who's found out an amazing hack to cook for her 12 children by making all of her eggs on a baking tray. And depending on how you like your eggs, you put it on a different baking tray. Everyone's eggs come out at the same time. You can get breakfast on the table in a reasonable amount. Like, that's whose story I want. I don't care how someone became a billionaire. Everyone,
We've
that's
heard that story.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about the cookbooks is there's one called Helpful Heloise, and it's a lot of I guess you would call it like user submissions, but it's women sending in like the egg hack, or here's how to freeze eggs, or here's how to like save the ends of soap chunks and put them in an old sock, and then you can take all those soap chunks and you have like kind of a makeshift like loofah full of soap, and just to prevent waste. So it's a snapshot into time, and we get to learn about women who, in this case with cookbooks, it is mostly women, but women whose stories deserve to be told and who deserve to be honored and revered. I have found her name is Mildred Hayes. She graduated from Mildred, and I've tried to find her, but I haven't had any luck. She graduated from high school in 1932, and I found her high school diploma still framed.
Whoa.
So that's in my room hanging up, and I've got my diploma kind of like above it. And I'm like, good for you, Mildred. That's amazing. Like, you graduate, and I'm sure she passed away and no one in her family thought anything of it. It didn't mean anything, but it's like, that meant something to her. And hopefully Mildred wasn't an awful person. I don't know. I tried to look it up to make sure, but you're like, oh no, Mildred was evil. But it's allowing a piece of history to keep living on and creating your own memories with something that's there. Because how often has someone looked at an IKEA bookshelf and been like, oh, those were the days. Really loved putting that together with someone. Like, you don't have that versus looking at a desk that has like, someone wrote too hard with a pen, so the pen etching is in there, or it's scuffed. And it's like, oh yeah, that's where so-and-so used to always walk by and like knocked into it. And so there's just a history and a life that comes with it. So that's what I love about the bins and vintage stores and everything like that, is getting to live someone else's, a little bit of their life.
Like I've seen a thing at like a barber shop or a salon where like the around the chair, like in a horseshoe shape, is worn down from the people walking, back and forth through there. Just you can, see that they were there and they got to, they had the experience. And I mean, those cookbooks, like, when I was in Minnesota, I was finding a lot because Betty Crocker's from there. So
okay.
I had it.
Betty Crocker.
What's that?
I just figured Betty Crocker would be popular very much Midwest, but I didn't know she was from there.
Yeah. So I got tons and tons of Betty Crocker things, and those things all did great. I mean, as far as selling them, I couldn't hold on to all of them, but I did end up. There's a grocery store. I got this recipe book that's like a binder, and it's probably about like this thick. I held on to that thing. That thing's cool, and I keep saying I'm going to go and take pictures of all this stuff and put it up on the internet, but I haven't yet. I don't know if there's some sort of legal thing with that, since the grocery store is still a grocery store.
I don't know. I think you're probably fine. I actually found have you heard of Kitchen Caboodle?
Yeah.
So at the bins, I found a like spiral, like the plastic spiral bound Kitchen Caboodle cookbook.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You
And
got
it's
it?
I have it, yeah. And that's the other thing is like my boyfriend and I talk about selling things, and I'm just like, the books I don't know if I can part with, like other things, glassware, so like that's totally fine. But these books, I also I have one from 81 and it's made in Oregon, and it's got Moe's restaurant's clam chowder recipe as submitted by Moe's. I've got the ringside onion rings recipe. Like really amazing
Whoa.
pieces of Oregon history in these cookbooks. And like I will say some of the I found a lot of like church ones, and some of those recipes are horrible. I'm like, you took that to friends? I don't think they were your friends anymore, Deborah. That's awful. But like just the cookbooks are so amazing, and the grocery store ones or any of the pamphlets I think are just so cool. So hang on to it, you know,
Yeah.
and that's I'm actually trying not to Google recipes anymore. I'm trying to almost exclusively cook from my cookbook. So it's like if I want to make something and I don't know off the top of my head, I'm like, go through your cookbooks, and if you can't find anything, then I'll Google it.
What's something that you've gone through and found recently that you decided you're or not recently, but at some point in the, sometime in the past that you've has really surprised you?
Well, we recently made the Moe's clam chowder, and it was so good. It was shockingly good. I was blown
Whoa.
away. I was like, I don't need a might need to go to Moe's again.
Right.
Like
Yeah, you don't
it
need to go
was
out.
so good. I am excited to try some of the clarified butter recipes though, because I've started making my own butter. I've been
Ooh,
doing that for a couple months.
how you doing that?
So I am me. I'm doing it in a kit. My phone call showed up on my laptop. Sorry about that.
Nice. Hey, it's like it was like the other phone, the back to the landline.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm doing it in a KitchenAid mixer. You can do it in a mason jar. That takes hours. You can also like I'm not to the point of getting the butter churn because that takes for a really skilled butter maker, they're like, oh, 45 minutes nonstop. And it's like for a novice, I'm sure a day. So the KitchenAid mixer, you take heavy whipping cream, you pour it in there, and in like little less than a half hour, you have fresh butter.
Wow.
That's
And you can
it.
put other shit in it if you want.
Yes. So fresh butter lasts about 2 weeks. You do, if you're going to keep it
Cool.
on the counter, you need to have it in one of like the water butter things. So it's like the butter hangs upside down in a dome, and then there's water underneath, and it's kind of
Okay.
stable. And that, but you have to change the water every 2 days or it gets funky. So you've got 2 weeks on that. You can freeze it for like a couple months, but as soon as you start adding herbs or anything, you're
Yeah.
reducing the shelf life. So
Ooh.
you need to like for Christmas, I'm going to be giving people butter. And it's like, all right, I'll take a request of like, would you like an herb butter? But let me know when you're going to use it so that I can prepare it in time. So
Awesome.
it
That sounds like a lot of fun.
really
And
is fun. And you get to like mold the butter. And so I picked up some
ooh, I
like,
was gonna say, what you got?
yeah,
What?
well, I mean, you can get really whimsical and fun, but I think I'm not there yet. I'm just thinking like butter, kind of like a stick of butter, something that's practical. But you know, you can go to the bins and like get cookie like cookie cutters, anything. You can kind of mold it with whatever you want. The important thing is washing the butter because you want to get all of like the buttermilk out, because if there's more of that liquid kind of in there, your butter won't last as long. So the washing
Okay.
process is really important. And for about you use a half gallon of heavy whipping cream, you'll get a pound of butter and you will get a quart of fresh buttermilk.
And so what do you do with the buttermilk?
Well, I am a terrible baker, but I am really trying to learn how to bake and using it for baking. But you can, you know, dredge your chicken in it for buttermilk fried chicken or just buttermilk baked chicken. buttermilk can actually sub in for a lot of things. Like maybe you don't have sour cream or yogurt, you can use that and mix it with some heavy cream. So buttermilk is an option for a lot of recipes, but I've never like, I don't go out and actively buy it, but now having it as a byproduct, I'm like, what can I put it in? You can put it in cookies and cakes and anything, in bread and biscuits. So just finding, and the buttermilk's good for, I would say a little less than a week because you don't want to get too funky. But I have tried to make cream cheese
Yeah.
and mozzarella. Cream cheese is
Ooh.
really hard to make. It easily can become very leathery and just not great. And the mozzarella, the yield is not worth it. So like, I would say depending on where you live and price wise, it
Yep.
is cheaper to buy your own cream cheese. It is cheaper to buy your own like cottage cheese, any type of cheese form. Sour cream, hit or miss. You're not going to get a high yield. So I would say best bet with the buttermilk is baking. But once you have the fresh butter, it is very hard to go back. Even Tillamook butter, that's really good. And obviously Kerrygold is a butter in and of its own kind. You know, Kerrygold is its own gold standard, but
Right.
it's hard to go back when you can just smear like fresh butter on a piece of toast. Even if it's like Wonder Bread, it tastes phenomenally better with fresh butter.
I'm all for that. There's some things you can't go back once you try it. And I feel like having your own butter would be one of those. That's
Yeah.
how I was with eggs. I
Oh,
had I had a hard time. Like I didn't have an egg that was not a white egg from the grocery store until I was in my 30s. And
oh, okay.
I had a friend who had chickens and he lived in the suburbs, like a mile or two from me. And that was the first time I had an egg that wasn't an egg like that. And that's when I was like, okay, why am I eating these eggs? This tastes nothing like an egg. This is
You
nope,
don't
nope.
need the salt that you would need. I mean, when you're able to have a fresh ingredient like that, you need so much less of it and you need so much less seasoning. Like the color of a farm egg. I'm lucky to live near a wonderful local produce stand, and a farmer,
Cool.
I think his name is Jeff, comes in twice a week for egg drops. And it's like, here's all my, and so I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's like, you got to get there because they sell out. Right. And he's got the bantam eggs, so the little chicken eggs, which I like.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
then kind of like in a farm, you're not going to get jumbo eggs. You're going to
right.
get like tiny eggs and a little bit larger. And, they can come in an array of colors depending on what kind of chicken they are. But the yolk is where you can really tell the difference of it being like almost like a burnt orange in a
Yep.
fresh egg.
Yep.
And the taste of it, it's like, it's a buttery taste, and you don't need to like, because I didn't really like anything but scrambled eggs because you just got like the big white shell. I grew up with farm eggs, and then I didn't have access to them. I lived in college. I didn't have anywhere I could get them. And now again, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of my splurge. Like my splurge is going to be paying for more expensive eggs and eating less of them.
Yeah,
So
it's totally worth it. I mean, you can get
yes.
a dozen eggs for $1.69, or you can, spend four, I don't know, usually $4 or $5 for a dozen is kind of what it seems like it's about right now for
I
a
think
dozen fresh eggs. Three
here,
if you're lucky.
yeah, here they're running, I think between 5 to 7.50.
I
Um,
think it's fair. 50 cents an egg, I'm okay paying that.
hun-
Like,
100%, especially since it's a local farm you're supporting. They're transporting it in and out. And what's really cool about this place is everyone saves their cartons and we return them.
cool.
So, and same with all the produce boxes. They're not like the plastic ones. They're the kind of like paper mache consistency. And
Yeah.
so anyone that kind of lives in the neighborhood, we all save them and then we take them all back so they can reuse them. So it's like maybe once a week I go with my pile of like, here's my egg carton that I've collected over the past, month, and here's all my crates, and give them back. So it's kind of like reducing that little bit of waste where we can.
Yeah. And oh man, yeah, it's like I like it where I am right now. Like I got uh I got it pretty good. Like I got farms all around me now. I got if you ever need a butter churn, I got butter churns up the wazoo.
I
Um,
mean, I'm
like
not
I
against it.
yeah. I
I've
mean,
been
if it
really wanting one. I just know that the craftsmanship, it's gonna be, you're gonna, are they Amish? That would be
yeah,
my, okay, yeah, yeah. So,
yeah,
I mean,
I live right by Amish people. All
okay,
so if you need any baking stuff or anything of that nature, like
all right.
that kind of stuff, if there's anything in that realm that you're looking for, let me know.
I would
Um,
actually love to know what the price points are for butter churns.
okay, yeah,
'Cause
I'll look around.
thank you, because I don't want to buy one just online. I've looked
Right,
and it's like, I don't want that. And I have, it's a series of books called, is it Firefox? And it's the history of Appalachian people here in America, and it's survivalist books. And
cool.
they're amazing. You can find some of them on Thrift Books, which is a great website to avoid spending money on Amazon and buying secondhand books. I mean, it's everything you need, but there's an entire chapter on butter churning, and just, you've got to have the right type of churn. And so, yeah, I think Amish, absolutely, that would be the only way to go. I don't want to just buy it from someone named Barbara that lives in the suburbs.
Right,
Like,
yeah, that says it's Amish inspired or something, or
yeah. Like,
yeah,
and so many of the butter churns, weirdly enough, online, like they make hand crank ones. If you look at the details, like on Etsy, they just say like not for use. So there's people that just have fake butter churn, again, like a fake answering machine. Like, maybe they're trying to
right.
buy that aesthetic, but it's like, I don't want something in my house if I can't use it. I want it to actively, like, I've got the butter churn. It's because, you know what? Maybe once a month I have 2 martinis and I churn myself some butter, like, or at
Yeah,
least try.
I think that's a great thing to do. Like I'm jealous. I need to up my butter game, and now I'm feeling it, and just
It's worth
yeah,
it. It's so worth it, and it's really fun, and it's one of those projects that you do and you feel really accomplished, and it's really impressive to people, and you're like, "It's not that
yeah,
impressive." Like, it is, but it's not, and it's fun. And, depending on, like, if you had kids in your life, it'd be a great project to do with kids, honestly.
oh yeah,
'Cause it'd be like, "Hey, you have to squeeze it," and it's kinda like you get to play with the but you can't overwork butter. So you can keep squeezing it and keep
Uh,
washing it. Yeah,
so it's not like dough.
exactly, yeah, so it's just a really
Mm,
fun project for any age, but I don't think it's the first one that you would think of, like, "Hey, do you wanna come over and make butter?" And it's like, "That sounds awful," and it's like, or it'd be really fun, so
right. I mean, that would be great to yeah, like if they have a lot of energy, still have more energy. Hey, you can work the thing more. You
that
can
would
work it
be,
down more.
honestly, having children, that sounds horrible, like unpaid child labor, didn't mean that, but, like, Christmas cookies, that's a great family project, but you could be like, "What about Christmas butter?"
Christmas butter would be great. Also,
Yeah,
actually, that's a great name for a band too.
Christmas.
Uh, I want to go see them. I bet they'd be
I would go
a
see
fun
them too.
one.
I don't care what kind of music they play, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in there too. Um, so where are people gonna find you? Where can they see what you do? 'Cause
Yeah.
there's yeah, always a lot. Where can they uh look out for your book about recipes, about recipe books?
So on Instagram, my Instagram handle is unsolicited aspic. Uh, and it's just, it makes me laugh. I'm so happy with it. I've changed my name a few times and I'm like, nope, I don't think I want to change it to anything else. To clarify, it's unsolicited, but it's aspic, like the Jello mold. But I just like the play on words. It's funny to me.
Yeah,
People always pause. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, unsolicited aspect. That's you can find me. And then
duh.
I'm also on Nightcap on Turfs Up Radio, which is a green renewable energy radio station based out of South Florida. So I do the show with Hecubus on there, and a lot of times not as much now. We kind of have to ebb and flow with his work schedule, but we do live shows on Friday nights. You can call in and text and we can chat with you. And, you know, it's kind of a fun interactive component. Otherwise, we're just talking vintage food and cookbooks and kind of whatever we're eating or thinking about eating. But you can find all those recordings online. You can just Google Amanda Martin-Tully nightcap and that will pop up on, you know, whether it's Spotify, I think it's like pod.co or Apple iTunes. It's available everywhere. So you can find that. And if you type in unsolicited aspic, you will get me. Like,
If it's someone else, I don't know how they did it.
exactly. Yeah.
Call the
I
police.
I think there is a Facebook group, like a private Facebook group that's just unsolicited aspect, but there's like nothing about it. And that's not me. So I can't vouch for that. But I would say the greater majority of what is out there on the internet is probably related to me. If it's good
Okay.
and vintage related.
Yeah. If it's good. If it sucks, it's not me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't check that out. That's not me for sure.
I'm not selling butter online, so do not buy
Yeah.
butter.
Not yet. Yeah, you're gonna
Not
have
yet.
to go find Amanda in person.
Yeah.
Go meet her at the bins. Make sure you
Yeah.
give her a space, uh, you know, cut out for her at the bins where she has extra security and a buffer zone around her, so she has optimal picking space.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. I
Yeah,
had such a
you're
blast.
welcome. Me too. Stay up. Will you stay on for like 3, 4 minutes, and I
Yeah.
will give you that information.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Will do. Thank you. All right. That is Amanda Martin-Tully. So yeah, you guys check her out. Do it because I said so, gosh darn it. And I enjoy talking to her. I wish I talked to her more than once a year. So thank you everyone for listening. And that is the show. Man, boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.